The Mesozoic era, which spanned the time from 251 million to 66 million years ago, is often referred to as the Age of Dinosaurs. But although dinosaurs reigned supreme on land back then, they did not rule the air. Instead, the skies were the dominion of an entirely different group of beasts, the pterosaurs. Pterosaurs were the first vertebrate creatures to evolve powered flight and conquer the air, long before birds took wing. They prevailed for more than 160 million years before vanishing along with the non-bird dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous period, around 66 million years ago. In that time, they evolved some of the most extreme anatomical adaptations of any animal, living or extinct. The smallest of these aerial predators was the size of a sparrow. The largest had a wingspan that rivaled that of an F-16 fighter jet. Many possessed heads larger than their bodies, making them, in essence, flying jaws of death. Pterosaurs patrolled every ocean and continent on Earth. No animal in the Mesozoic would have been safe from their gaze. Unlike dinosaurs, which are survived today by birds, pterosaurs left behind no living descendants. As a result, all that paleontologists know about pterosaurs comes from the fossil record, and that record has been frustratingly fragmentary, leaving us with just a glimmer of their former glory and a host of questions about their bizarre anatomy and ill fate. Paleontologists have scratched their heads over these mysteries for decades. Now, new fossil discoveries combined with mathematical modeling methods in which anatomical structures are simplified just enough that equations of physical properties can be applied to get best estimates of strength, weight, speed, and so forth are finally generating insights. And what scientists are finding is that pterosaurs were even more extraordinary than we ever imagined. Winged leviathans. One of the enduring mysteries of pterosaurs is how the largest members of this group became airborne. Giants such as Quetzalcoatlus, first discovered in Texas, and Hatzegopteryx from modern-day Romania, stood as tall as a giraffe and had wingspans of more than 30 feet. These animals possessed jaws twice the length of those belonging to Tyrannosaurus rex. Their upper arms would have been nearly as large around as the torso of an average-sized adult human. They were true behemoths, attaining weights exceeding 650 pounds. For comparison, the largest bird to ever take to the air, Argentavis, living 6 million years ago in Argentina, most likely weighed less than 165 pounds. The discrepancy between the biggest members of each of these groups is so vast, in fact, that multiple researchers have suggested that the largest pterosaurs could not fly at all, although this would be puzzling given their many anatomical adaptations for flight. Others have suggested that they could fly but only under very special air and surface conditions, if the atmosphere in their day were denser than it is today, for instance. After all, it seems unfathomable that birds of such sizes could fly. In fact, recent power scaling studies from several researchers, including me, have demonstrated that supersized birds would have insufficient power to launch themselves into the air in the first place. But pterosaurs were not birds. Indeed, over the past decade, my colleagues and I have carried out numerous calculations of pterosaur launch and flight power, showing not only that giant pterosaurs could launch and fly, but also that they probably did not need any special circumstances to do so. In line with these conclusions, we now know from geochemical analyses of sedimentary rocks and microanatomical analyses of plant fossils that air and surface conditions in the late Cretaceous, the heyday of enormous pterosaurs, were not remarkably different from what we experience today. What was different and unique was the anatomy of pterosaurs. Pterosaurs are often referenced as flying dinosaurs, though they're just flying reptiles, cousins to dinosaurs. From the late Triassic period to the end of the Cretaceous period, pterosaurs dominated the sky. They could be as large as fighter jets and as small as toy planes. Here are 5 of the most fascinating flying dinosaurs. Pterodactylus was the first pterosaur to be recognized as a flying reptile. First described in 1784 by Italian naturalist Cosimo Collini, based on unearthed fossils from Bavaria, it had an unusual straight jaw containing approximately 90 teeth. At first, researchers misidentified it as a marine animal that used its large arms as flippers to move through the water. It wasn't until the mid-1800s that it was fully recognized as a flying animal. Pterodactylus is by far the most well-known of all the pterosaurs, leading to the name pterodactyl becoming synonymous with all pterosaurs, even though it is its own species. They most likely bred each season and continued to grow throughout their lives, similar to crocodiles. Unlike crocodiles, Pterodactylus is believed to have been warm-blooded, although that is a more recent theory. In 1971, a geology graduate student named Douglas Lawson was doing fieldwork in Big Bend National Park when he discovered fossils that became the first known Quetzalcoatlus. With a 33 to 38-foot wingspan and a weight of 440 to 550 pounds, this animal is believed to have been the largest flying creature ever to inhabit the Earth. It was long believed that Quetzalcoatlus flew similarly to eagles and condors, using updrafts to fly. But further research has led scientists to conclude that they were, in fact, short-range flyers who spent much of their time on land hunting small reptiles, insects, rodents, and even small dinosaurs. In 1828, on the coast of southern England, fossil hunter Mary Anning discovered the first known remains of a Dimorphodon. A little over 3 feet long with a wingspan of 4.5 feet, Dimorphodon had a large, bulky head that was lightened by large openings in its skull. While incapable of long-distance flying, they would have engaged in short, rapid flights. This would be similar to the flying habits of modern-day woodpeckers. They had large, pointy teeth in the front part of their jaws and smaller teeth in the back. They used a snap-and-hold technique for feeding, using their quickly closing but relatively weak jaw to consume insects and small vertebrates. The size of a modern-day seagull, Rhamphorhynchus had a body covered with short hair-like fibers, as did other pterosaurs. These flying reptiles had short necks and a long bony tail that comprised half its length. With their sharp teeth, they grabbed food by putting their beak into the water and snatching up prey. They would then throw the food from its teeth to a pouch in its throat. The throat pouch has been preserved in some fossils, and scientists believe it was used for food storage. The most notable Rhamphorhynchus fossils have been unearthed from the Solnhofen quarry in Bavaria. Not only have bones been preserved, but researchers also found wing and tail impressions. One feature distinguishing Ornithocheirus from other pterosaurs was a bony convex crest, called a keel, on the end of its snout. This was probably used to attract mates, crack open crustacean shells, or threaten fellow pterosaurs hunting the same prey. Originally believed to be much larger, it is now estimated that the Ornithocheirus wingspan was about 15 to 20 feet and their weight ranged from 50 to 100 pounds. With a relatively narrow jaw and sharp, needle-like teeth, they flew above the water to hunt, using their long beak to skim the water for prey. As piscivores, they hunted and primarily ate fish, although they would have grazed on plants and grass for additional sustenance.